grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and three others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Now that was Trump, paying his respects to Charlie Kirk. Yo, this is a mysterious assassination to me, because for the simple fact that the questioning that led up to him getting shot in the neck and assassinated, right? They was asking him about lone wolf terrorists, right? And they was talking about, matter of fact, I want to pull the video up, but I don't want to play the part where he got shot. But I do want to highlight the questioning that was happening leading up to him getting shot. And it was kind of weird. And it was like right on cue what he was talking about, the questions he was being asked, and him being assassinated right then and there when he was answering those questions is mysterious as hell, man. Um, and you know, you got to look at the fact, like, why was he assassinated? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the motive behind him being assassinated? And the person they said did it wasn't the actual person that did it, the one that got arrested. So this whole thing is just crazy as hell. But I did want to get into the press conference as well. So let me go ahead and pull the press conference up. But it was mighty strange. I was trying to get the questioning, the questions, the video. I thought I had sent it to myself to pull up the video of the questions they was asking him before he was assassinated. Let me see if I can pull it up. Sheesh. Because I don't want, because in this video they did show the full video of him getting, like, they didn't blur anything out. But I didn't want to play, you know, I didn't want to play the full video, but I did want to get the questions that they was asking him before he was assassinated. Damn, I thought I sent that video to myself, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't have it. I don't know where the hell I just went. All right, well, it just this whole thing is crazy. And you know, this not going to be the last assassination we're going to see, or assassination attempt, or this is, I don't, because I believe there's a covert war going on in this country. There's a war, of course, on the citizens of America, but it's also a covert war going on between the elites, because they're trying to move along with the new system they're trying to set up, the new financial system at that, and they're trying to use the new financial to build new infrastructure. So there's some people in the way of that. Not everybody wants to go along with the system that they're trying to set up. So, you know, I believe this Epstein thing ties into it as well, because the people they want to target, you know, is a certain group of people they want to target to get them out the way. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like that we're going to see more of these assassinations. We're going to see more people getting, you know, sex trafficking charges in the media. We're going to see a lot more of that shit happening, because there's definitely a war that's going on at the top, for sure, for sure. All right, let me share the video. Hold on, y'all. Make sure y'all double tap the screen, like this video as well, because I just came on real quick. Like, I didn't even set up the live for the plan ahead. I just, you know, came on here. So, all right, let me see if I can pull this up. All right, this is the press conference. Wanted to get into this. Let me know if we good on sound too.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
In the meantime, I'll find this video.
Thank you for being here. At this press conference, we will first hear from Utah Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bo Mason. Then we'll hear from the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Robert Bowles. We'll then hear from Utah Valley University Vice President Val Peterson, who's been in touch with President Jimenez. And then we'll hear from Governor Cox. I'll turn the time over to Commissioner Mason.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. Today at approximately 12:20 Mountain Standard Time, political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed. The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting.
Yeah, that wasn't the real killer, yo. That's what I'm saying. Like,
person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we heal, we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people who witnessed this traumatic event. We know that what you experienced was very difficult. Our thoughts are with you as well. As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
On behalf of President Tumenez, who we've been...
This is mysterious as death, assassination.
Say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to two young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you.
They gonna roll somebody
We will
out.
hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law.
They gonna frame somebody and roll
And
somebody
I
out for
just want to
this.
remind
They ain't
people
gonna.
that
They
we still
not
have the
gonna
death
arrest the
penalty
real
here in the
person.
state of
Y'all
Utah.
know that, right? I need y'all to double tap on the screen and like this video too. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the video of the dude on the roof.
Our nation is broken.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that video up too.
We've had
I need everybody double tap the screen,
political
man. Like this video.
assassinations
'Cause I'm about to
recently
break
in
this shit down.
Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States.
Yeah, this definitely was a
Nothing I
statement they
say
made
can
with
unite us
this.
as a country.
It's definitely mysterious.
Nothing I
as hell.
can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens. And
Yo, so the question that was asked, I want to pull this up because I don't want to play the shooting though, because you know they might try to flag the channel for that. But I do want to play the question. Y'all don't find this suspicious that the question was asked right before he was shot? Let me pull this video up, and I need y'all to bear with me real quick because I don't want to get flagged for the actual, because this video has been censored. But I just want to get the question. Y'all, everybody knows the assassinator. But I wanted y'all to hear the question that was asked to him before it happened. Let me pull this up. I need everybody double tap that screen like this video though. This is crazy, bro. Listen to the question, which makes me think these type of things be set up for stage for, not to say the shooting was staged, but these things be set up for the agenda, man. Listen to what the question was asked before he was shot. Let me know if y'all can hear it too. We good on sound?
So do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
So he just asked him about mass shooters. He said transgender mass shooters over the years or some shit like that. So you gotta understand the language that's being used while the assassination is happening. And that's what I be finding suspicious about these situations when they happen. And it is very mysterious, man, that these things happen. And for the simple fact that they locked up some guy they said was the shooter, that they had now had to announce that wasn't the real shooter. The real shooter is on the loose. He's not in captivity or nothing, right? So what makes us them think that we, you know, the person that they're gonna roll out as the shooter is gonna be the actual shooter. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm still kind of in disbelief about the Luigi Mangione thing, because the way these things be, how they, you know, uh, presented in the media. I really don't be trusting too much of what be put out in the mainstream media, because they do a lot of twisting and turning with the mainstream media. It's the propaganda machine. They know how to make anything, you know, present anything to look like what they want us to, believe, versus what really happened. You see what I'm saying? They always do that trickery, that zigzag with us when it comes to the mainstream media. Let me bring this back to what he asked.
Too many.
He said too many mass shooters, right? For the simple fact that this is crazy, bro. And the thing about it, when I was looking up all the videos that was put out, I didn't hear what he was asked before he was assassinated. And that's crazy how it seemed like it was like right on cue. It was like right on cue when he was assassinated, what they asked him. Let me run it back in again.
So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
They asked him, do you know how many transgender mass shooters has it been in the last something? And he said too many. And they asked him again, and then he repeated it again, and then he was assassinated. Right, it's like right on cue, bro. Right on cue. Y'all don't. I gotta find the Umar John. I gotta hit y'all with it. Y'all don't find that suspicious? Where's it at? I gotta hit y'all with it, man. Where is it at? Where is it at? I don't see it. Y'all don't find that suspicious? Y'all don't find that suspicious? That he was assassinated right on cue? Is this
You don't
it?
find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Right on cue, bro. That's why I don't be trusting nothing the mainstream media be presenting to us. I really don't. And I'm not saying the assassination wasn't real, but I believe it was a sacrifice. I'm gonna be honest. Because that line of questioning they asked right before he was assassinated is crazy to me, bro. That is crazy to me. They specifically asked him about a mass shooter, and then he gets shot right on cue. Y'all don't find that suspicious, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is crazy, man. This is a crazy situation, and we all know that. I feel like that Trump assassination was staged as well. That assassination attempt on Trump's life, I believe that was a stage event, and they kind of used some wrestling blood. You know how in wrestling they you grab your ear or something, and you got the little blood thing in your hand. I believe that was because he didn't have no shooting marks. When Trump got that assassinated, he didn't have no marks on his ear or nothing, and he supposedly had got grazed. We didn't see no marks. So I feel like that was stage two. Bro, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm gonna be honest with y'all 100%. They really want to take the guns away from American citizens, because this is like the last country on a planet that the citizens are allowed to be armed. Because I believe they're with him bringing military into a basically putting military on the streets. That's like an act of basically civil war on America's soil, because they want a civil war on American soil, basically. Because you got to understand how that brings down the property value. They want to buy everything up because they need to build this new infrastructure. They want to build the smart cities everywhere. They want to get that smart cities off the ground. But they need they need the new system to happen. They need to transition the financial system into this digital crypto system. There's a lot of key players in the way of that. There's a lot of people in the way of that that's tied to this, is also tied to the Epstein shit as well. So if y'all thinking that's all we're going to see in the media, is that they got a lot of shit they about to start rolling out in the media. And I believe, like I said before, that whole Epstein list, that whole Epstein victims press conference that they had, that they allowed on the mainstream media, was definitely setting the stage up for what they about to roll out. They about to target some people that supposedly supposed to be on the Epstein client list, because them women said specifically in that press conference, we have our own Epstein client list. We know, since they don't want to release the Epstein client list, we're going to release our own Epstein client list because we know the people that was on that list. You got to realize they setting the stage for the people that they're going to roll out in front of us in the media. They're not going after the real people on that Epstein client list. First of all, they're not going to allow anybody on mainstream media to say anything anyway. When have you ever heard a whistleblower, a real whistleblower on mainstream media? That shit is highly controlled. They're not going to let anybody say anything on that media. So you got to realize they setting the stage up for the people they're good at targeting on that. And Diddy is small fry, bro. Diddy is small fry compared to the people that's really on that client list. Because they say, oh, it's no Epstein. It's no such thing as an Epstein client list. You even heard Trump say it. There's no Epstein client list. All right, then why Ghislaine doing 20 plus years then? Why Epstein dead? Supposedly dead. So if there's no client list, then who the F was they trafficking to? Themselves? That makes no sense. There's obviously a real Epstein client list. So they want to keep distracting us with this type of shit, with this Charlie Kirk, because who was he really? According to the political space, was he somebody that was real important to the political space where he can make changes? I'm asking y'all, was he somebody in the political space where he had the power to actually make changes? And why was he assassinated on cue? Why was he assassinated? Like, can I bring the question back one more time? What they asked him before he was assassinated? Y'all got to listen to what he said. He said they asked him about mass shooters.
Yes, no, there's that. Right. So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Mass shooters. How many transgender mass shooters has it been for the past few years? He said too many. How the F do we know any of these shooters was transgenders or not? Have there ever been presented in the media that any of these mass shooters was transgender? Y'all got to look at the language, the coded language that they use when this shit is happening. They're setting the stage up. Y'all got to realize when shit like this happening, they're setting the stage up for what they're about to roll out next. I told y'all weeks before the Diddy trial was even over, they're going to roll out the Epstein shit, because we seen in the media, they kept trying to tie Diddy to Epstein. They kept mentioning Diddy they kept mentioning Epstein alongside of the Diddy trial. And me and bro was on the chat. I said, bro, they're going to roll Epstein shit out next, and they're gonna roll Ghislaine Maxwell out. And little did we know, they rolled Ghislaine ass out and said that she was going to meet with the DOJ to basically give them the names of the people that was on that list. Then they show her carrying files back to the prison and shit, right? They show her carrying a box of files back to the prison to make it look like she's going back to go over the files and going to give up some names and shit. That shit was all staged, bro. Ghislaine meeting with DOJ was all staged. These are all a bunch of stage events, man. They're never going to roll out the real Epstein list. So now they're going to just throw us a bunch of distractions in the media. There's going to be a whole lot of distractions within the media because they're making a transition that they don't want too many people even focusing on. And we all know it's tied to the new financial system, because what else would it be about? If it's not about the financial system, what else would it be about? You know what I'm saying? It's about the financial system, total dominance, total control over the population. Population control. They definitely want to see a lot of people wiped out. Population control. We already know what that agenda is about. So all I'm saying is you got to realize what's going on here, because the mainstream media don't just operate just at the surface level. You got to realize a lot of this shit is the propaganda. A lot of we know the mainstream media is a propaganda machine. We know that. That shit is highly controlled. You know what I'm saying? So we're going into the next phase. That's what all this shit is about. Going into the next financial phase, which is digital cryptocurrency. We know that's the next phase they're rolling out, that they're going into. You know what I mean? So a lot of this shit that we see in the media, a lot of this shit is really setting the stage up for what they rolling out next. And this whole Epstein shit is definitely a distraction, because they're not gonna never let the real Epstein the client list get out. We know that. We're talking about people. We're talking about prime ministers, high level political people, world leaders. They're not letting none of those names leak in the media. So they're gonna they're gonna roll out some fake ass names, or they possibly could be some real people, but they're gonna roll some people out that's low level to make it look like they actually busting people on the Epstein list. They never gonna go after the real people. Come on, y'all. Yeah, that's what y'all at least can agree on. Anybody that's in this chat definitely can agree on they never gonna release the real names of the Epstein list. Y'all know that, of the Epstein client list. Y'all know that. So a lot of this shit, I feel like there's a lot of distractions going on with this. But I do want to get back to the press conference real quick. Let me go ahead and get back to that real quick. Let me share this. Let me share this. Let me share this. This shit is crazy, bro. This shit is crazy.
Pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
I'm gonna put play the video of the assassin on the roof. So the guy so they basically saying the guy. Let me pause this real quick.
Yes,
So the guy they arrested for this it's not the actual guy that did the shooting at all. So that person, they had to let him go because they said he wasn't the real shooter. Now I do want to pull up, before we get back into this, I do want to pull this up real quick. My bad, y'all. I know I'm kind of like there's a lot of information come out about this shit, so I'm trying to present it to y'all, and because they did capture a supposed video of the shooter on the roof. I'm not sure if this is the real shooter or not. We're not sure, because I really don't be trusting shit. I don't trust a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't. So that's supposed to be right there. Y'all see that right there? Oh, it's not playing. Oh shit. Hold on, y'all. My bad. Oh shit. My bad. Why you ain't tell me? Because I'm doing a lot of shit at the same time. Because I'm trying to get these videos. I'm doing a lot of shit at the same time. My bad, y'all. That was my bad. My bad. All right, so
Just saying. He just ran from over. Where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying. Just getting right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there. Just saying.
they somebody
just
that's
ran from
captured the video of him on the
where's my
roof.
finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there.
I don't know. I don't be trusting a lot of shit. I mean, we do see something right there on the roof, but I don't know if that's, setting up the, the stage or whatever for the assassination. I don't know. Yo, you know what I want to, you know what else is suspicious too? That train stabbing with that Ukraine lady. Y'all gotta watch what they're doing in the media. Now, Ukraine is part of this whole thing with the leader of Ukraine meeting with Trump at the White House trying to get funding for whatever war they supposed to be having with China. Then you have, I mean, with Russia. Then you have Trump meeting with Putin. And y'all gotta look at how they're setting this shit up, y'all, because that train stabbing is mighty suspicious too. With this little old white girl on the train from Ukraine, and then this random guy comes out of nowhere and pokes her in the neck. And I'm looking at the video, right? And I'm seeing the people that's sitting in the train in the cart. You have these people that's just not paying. Shit kind of look like a acting thing set up. I'm not saying it's not real, but how people were just sitting there not reacting to dude stabbing the woman and all that. They just sitting there just like they was just riding the train and didn't see shit. And then come to find out the lady is from Ukraine. And so y'all gotta peep out the language that they using in the media, bro. So you have the stabbing that happened, yesterday? The stabbing happened yesterday, right? Or the day before? Ukraine. Keyword, Ukraine. Then you have this Kirk guy being assassinated, but right before he's assassinated, they asked him about mass shooters. So y'all gotta kind of peep the language that's being used here. Cause this shit is crazy, yo. And I bet you it all ties in. That's why I don't be trusting nothing that come out with the mainstream media, bro. All this should be tied in. I'm gonna be honest. But let me go ahead and get back to the press conference, y'all. Cause it's a lot of shit still coming out about this. So I'm just gonna try to get to much coverage as I can. And I might have to actually revert to some of the live news coverage as well. So yo, double tap the screen, like this video, man. Please like this video, this live stream, and share it. Cause you ain't gonna hear nobody really talking about the shit and connecting the dots like this. Shit is real rap.
Looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to the shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where, how long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooting?
Do you want to talk about what we know there? Yeah.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where did the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
Did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation's ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be.
Of course, the investigation is ongoing. I don't believe they're gonna roll out the real person that did the
No, I
assassination.
can't comment on any of that.
Can you talk a little about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise and what happens on these kind of events?
Let me see if I can get some more coverage on this too, y'all.
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we're devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. You know, obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area. And so he was kind of in a lower area surrounded by buildings. You know, we had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. You know, we train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and you know, these things, you know, unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry, see?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, there was a question being asked about mass shooting.
They setting the stage. You hear, you heard him? You heard her?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
The reporter asked him, who was the guy that asked him about mass shooting? Because that's what I picked up when I first heard the person ask him about the mass shooter, and then he got shot. That made me look at that shit crazy, because I didn't hear that before, because people was playing the video, so I didn't hear that until a little later. And I said, man, why is that person asking him about the mass shooter, and then he gets shot right on cue? So that reporter just asked this chief, the police chief, about who was the person that asked him about the mass shootings that, you know what I mean? And that's the question I was asking, like, why would they ask him about that shit, and then he get assassinated right there on cue, which is crazy to me. Let me bring that back, what she asked him real quick. Let me bring that back a little bit.
When Kirk was shot, there was a question being asked about mass shooting. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know.
So she asked, was the person apprehended that asked Charlie Kirk about mass shootings? And I guess that person wasn't apprehended. They don't know who was the person that asked him the question. Because how we know that wasn't the shooter? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or a person that was part of the situation that was happening, to basically like lining up the cue on when to go. Ask them about mass shooter, and that's when you go. You know what I mean? Like that type of ordeal. Like basically setting up, basically firing on cue. Because that's mighty strange. They asked him about mass shooter, and then he gets shot. That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
It's crazy.
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team, or a combination of both, that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. You know, he has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and so yeah, we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot?
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today.
I don't believe it was a satanic ritual. I believe this was a sacrifice based off of where they going with, because you got to realize the key words they use: mass shooter. So that's basically, targeted towards basically the Second Amendment. Because, this is like one of the last countries where the citizens are still allowed to be armed. So any type of tyrannical situation that happened, we allowed to, hold firearms to protect ourselves against tyrant governments and, people that want to do harm to us. And we still have the militia here as well. So if they wanted to break out any type of civil war, they know they're gonna have a hard time on their hands because the citizens of America is still allowed to carry firearms. You know what I'm saying? So if you disarm the citizens, then that leads to an easy takeover, which it's not gonna be that easy, man. It's not gonna be that easy. Uh, this it's crazy though. It's crazy. This situation is real crazy. We didn't really expect assassination to be happen today. Like this is insane, bro. Let me pull this up though. Um, let's get to some media and shit. Some media coverage.
Yeah, man. Just
As you say that, we're actually
in the video.
Yeah, we're looking at a shot now, a live shot or some video from our affiliate KSL there that's showing just scores of police officers, first responders, emergency vehicles, almost sort of blocking and setting up a perimeter around the school where this was. Was this sort of in the middle of the school? Was this the central of the school, or was this kind of an outdoor pavilion?
It's an outdoor amphitheater, basically, where he's set up is at the bottom level, and then there's basically crescent-shaped steps that kind of climb up and continue to I guess rise up as you go back further and further away from the stage area.
And then is this Charlie Kirk? I mean, I don't know how much you follow him. Is this your first time seeing him live, or has he had been to this university or this area for a while?
First time seeing him live. I mean, I'd seen plenty of videos, plenty of videos online and on X and stuff, and was excited to come attend this event. He was supposed to come back at the end of September to Logan, Utah, which is a lot further away. So I was excited to attend this one and just kind of, see what was going on.
Yeah, and then if you could describe the moment again, just because some people may be tuning in right now. Justin, you said you were on the left side of where this happened, not too far from Charlie Kirk himself. Talk to us again about what you saw when you heard that first gunshot go off.
When I heard the first gunshot go off, all of a sudden I just saw an eruption of blood, come out of Charlie's chest, and then kind of his whole body recoil and go limp, and it just took a split second, and I was like, is this really happening? Is it, and basically everybody just screamed and fell to the floor. But it looked like a lot of blood came out. A lot of blood was lost. It did not look good. It looked like, looked like a fatal shot. But I hope it's not.
Yo, this situation is crazy, y'all.
Yeah, as you say,
I'm gonna be honest. This situation is.
We have a message now on X from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying prayers for Charlie Kirk, an incredible Christian, American, and human being. May the healing hand of Jesus Christ be upon him. You were talking about a pretty graphic scene and a pretty violent injury. I don't know if you're a doctor or not, but from what you saw, I mean, how bad did this look? It sounds pretty bad.
It looked really bad. I saw a lot of blood leave his body instantly before, it's not like we heard a shot and we saw him fall to the ground. We saw a lot of blood leave his body instantly upon impact.
And did you hear more than one gunshot, or was it just one?
I couldn't remember if there was a second, but definitely the one. And luckily there wasn't more than, if there was a second one right away, I think it was just the one, but otherwise it wasn't any more than two.
And did it look like anybody else in the audience or anybody else with Charlie Kirk had also been hit?
No, it was just him, and then everybody went down, and then that was, as I'm sitting there with bodies laying on top of me, I'm just listening. I'm listening for more shots. That's the only thing I'm doing. I'm just like, okay, are there more? Are there more? Are there more? There's none. That's good. That's good. And just kind of playing that back in my mind and just thinking, I can't believe this is happening. How did this happen? How did we let this happen? How, just bummed there wasn't metal detectors or something. Cause like I said, it was just, everybody just kind of showed up and it was crowded. It was my guess is that there were probably at least 3,000 or 4,000 people there. It was incredibly crowded. You had people on rooftops, walkways, overpasses.
Yeah, you know, Justin, I've asked you so many questions, and I'm realizing I haven't asked you an important question, which you were sort of alluding to there. I mean, have you just taken a second to think about what happened? You went there to watch somebody talk about politics in America, where there's freedom of speech, where democracy is still alive, and yet in the past couple of years we've seen some real horrific political violence, and you just witnessed it, just steps from where you were.
Yeah, no, it's I'm just kind of taking it all in right now. You know, unfortunately, it's
All right, let me pull this up, y'all. Hold on.
I mean, it's
So,
it's very
all right,
frustrating.
let me pull this up real quick, y'all. I got some things that I want to pull
yeah,
up.
it's tragic, but
Hold on.
yeah, there needs to be freedom of speech. There needs to be, you know, toleration for all viewpoints, and unfortunately, you know, this does not look good for a particular side. You know, it's just sad, you know. So obviously, this person who shot him was deranged, but yeah, it's just a sad day.
Justin, we thank you for being with us. I'm sure our producers are going to have you stand by for us. If we get any more information, we're going to kind of want your perspective. I do want to bring in our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. Tom, what are you hearing from your sources about either the suspect or what happened there on the campus of Utah Valley University?
Yeah, so Tom, it appears that one individual fired this shot, still clearing the campus.
Realize that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most.
So this is a video of him speaking on Jeffrey Epstein being part of the Mossad, which that's not like, you know, a surprise. We know Jeffrey Epstein started off as a teacher, and then all of a sudden he became like a rich, powerful man overnight after he got with the Ghislaine and those people and started being part of that whole organization. He shot to the top, and all of a sudden he went from us being a school teacher to being around the most powerful elites in the world. You know, you don't get there just by any chance. You have to be chosen. We all know you have to be chosen for that. That's nothing you could work your way up to. That's something you are chosen, you know, to do. You're chosen to do a certain task. And the task sometimes could be very rewarding. It could be very rewarding when they pick you, when they hand pick you. And yeah, and the thing about it is a lot of those politicians were, people was hanging out around Epstein. It wasn't just Trump, it was the Clintons, Trump. Uh I really never seen him around the bushes or none of that, but we definitely see him around the Clintons and Trump and a lot of the celebrities and shit like that. You know what I mean? So all right, so people was asking can the assassination be tied to him speaking on this shit? I don't know. We don't know. You know, we don't know. It's possible. I'm not ruling anything out, especially when it comes to shit like this. You gotta take all things in and kind of dissect it and do a little bit of discernment. Like me, I was suspicious when they asked him that question about mass shooters, and then he was shot. That was just suspicious to me, and that kind of what made me want to go live too. After I heard that, I'm like, whoa, why was that shit mentioned? Why was that shit mentioned? You know, why did they ask him that question about mass shooters and then he get shot? Like, I don't know. I'll just be zooming in on shit like that.
As you just heard from our eyewitness, a fairly
I'm
incredible
trying to get
report
some more
from the
coverage,
scene.
y'all. I'm trying to get
SWAT
some more
team and other
coverage,
law
man.
enforcement currently going through the
Bear with
buildings
me.
of
Make sure y'all
campus,
double
obviously
tap the
going
screen
through
like this
the
video.
grounds there that have now well been cleared out from the students from the shot that you're looking at there on the left, which was taken moments before this shot was fired into the upper chest neck area of Charlie Kirk, a conservative commentator. Right now, we have not received official confirmation on the name of the individual that has been taken into custody, and if in fact that will ultimately be the individual that's been charged as a
Nope.
result of
They
this
released that
incident.
man.
The condition of
So
Kirk,
yeah,
as of this.
that's another thing too. The person that they initially arrested was released, so he wasn't even the initial shooter. The official shooter. They saying that the official shooter is still on the loose. He's never going to get caught. The real shooter is never going to get caught because that was a job that was done right in front of our eyes, right in front of the masses' eyes, and it was meant for us to see that, and it was meant for certain people in key positions to see that as well. And then he gets shot in the neck. It's like, all right, that's a statement right there. Him being shot in the neck is a statement. I mean, is he talking too much? Or that's for anybody that talks out against a certain, a certain fashions of that. They might catch one to the neck. I mean, that was remember when JFK got assassinated. The first thing he got hit was in his neck, right? That first shot hit JFK in his neck. And then the second shot was a headshot, which came from a whole nother direction. Because there were two shooters involved with the JFK assassination. It wasn't one shooter. There was definitely two shooters. So being as though this Charlie Kirk guy was shot in the neck, that's definitely a statement because they make statements like that when they make assassinations and they show where a person is being shot. They definitely is a statement as well. Even the position they're being shot at is a statement as well. So if it's getting shot in the throat, head, or whatever, they basically shot to the head is killing off any type of ideas that's grassroots ideas that's springing up from, what I'm saying, or shot in the throat, talking too much, shot in the chest, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's certain coded ways they go about this shit. And all that should be military, that'd be military trained snipers as well. So we know this just not no random shit here. This guy getting shot is not random. This definitely was supposed to happen. And it was supposed to happen on cue when they mentioned mass shooter. That was the key word right there. Mass shooter. That was key word. You know what I'm saying?
Hour is currently unknown.
It's
I will
crazy,
tell you,
man.
Tom, that everybody in law enforcement, in the intelligence, counterterrorism threat space is paying very close attention to this shooting
Let
because
me
it is
see if I can
part
get
of
some
a
more
disturbing trend that they've been focused on, starting with the two
some other
assassination
coverage.
attempts against Donald Trump while he was running for office. You had the targeted assassination here in New York City of a healthcare CEO. You had an arson attack on the governor of Pennsylvania, a targeted shooting attack just several weeks ago. Last time you and I were on the air talking about a shooting like this on 345 Park Avenue. And right now, law enforcement,
If they
among
start
other
talking
incidents,
about the
by the way,
Second Amendment
right now,
and
top law enforcement officials in this country, state, local, federal, all paying attention to what is a disturbing trend, and it's this: that people are using violence to solve their differences or problems in these targeted shooting attacks. It is something that, from a terrorism standpoint, we've seen terrorists rather do this in this country before and obviously abroad, but now individuals are acting out instead of trying to solve differences in a democracy, are apparently trying to take it upon themselves to fire weapons at individuals or attempt to fire weapons at individuals, also using fire, as we saw with the Shapiro attack in Pennsylvania, and as we saw the attack on a group of elderly Jewish Jewish individuals in Colorado who were just supporting the hostages that were taken by Hamas, a fire attack there. So this is top of mind. It's been a discussion I've been having with law enforcement officials all
they
this
love you
week,
in these
and
situations
it
to
is
push the
something that
agenda. They
presents a
love that.
very
These
steep
situations
security
here.
challenge in this country, where you're on a campus, whether you completely agree with Charlie Kirk or not, is a place traditionally where speech has been a spot where it's happened. And now law enforcement has to consider what type of event is going to draw this type of action and how can we possibly defend it. Tom, it's an enormous challenge.
Well, yeah, and you talk a lot about the threats, and we've been seeing some of the reporting come in specifically around New York City because of what's happening both with Israel and Hamas, but also as we get closer to 9/11. But we are talking now about Utah, a state that is a red state, a state friendly to President Trump, a state that does not have very strong gun laws whatsoever, and a place from we heard from our eyewitness that was
peep the
very
language
friendly
they're
to Charlie
using.
Kirk, right? Saying
Gun laws. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. When they shit like this happen, it just start. They want to start chipping away at the Second Amendment. They want to start talking about gun laws, changing the gun laws. That when situations like this happen, there's definitely the agenda that gears towards changing the gun laws. Always want to change the gun laws. They always talking about the Second Amendment when it comes to these situations happening. That's why I said peep the language that's being used. Mass shooter, gun. Yeah, I mean this is all part of the agenda they want to push, man. Because they definitely want to regulate the guns. Definitely. Yeah, I mean they definitely want to do that because armed citizens of America, Trump bringing in military and shit like that. They trying to militarize the police, federalize the local. Yeah, I mean they basically do away with local police. Well, putting local police under federal jurisdiction. Basically, they want to put local police under federal jurisdiction. They want to put and basically bring in the military to police America because they know it's going to be a civil war. If they trying to make a certain move where they're trying to move people around, they know it's going to be a lot more homeless people on the streets due to this system they setting up. They definitely trying to prepare for that as well. And who's going to actually sit back and watch their family starve based off changes they're making in America? And then you got to think about, you really think our own military is really going to want to go to war with the citizens? That shit don't sound right. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start bringing in foreign militias and shit, foreign militias from other countries, basically to to basically police our streets, because that's the last thing you want to do is the citizens going to war with our military.
97%, if not more, of the people in that crowd were supportive of Charlie Kirk. But when we talk about threats, Tom, are there still serious threats when it comes to people like Charlie Kirk? And I guess where I'm going here is that should there have been maybe more security, but it's also the same time he was speaking maybe to a friendly crowd, so that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to take a look at when a crowd is friendly or not. It only takes one person in a crowd to create an environment like this. As a society, we have to really have a serious discussion now on how we're going to deal with this going forward. I mean, are we going to have events where people try to speak at universities and they're surrounded by bulletproof glass? Could a university afford? Look at the size of that crowd, Tom. Could they afford the ability to use magnetometers and go person by person? I mean, when is an event enough?
Right.
We were just talking a couple of weeks ago about the shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota. I mean, there the doors locked after once the services started, so there was even best security practices there, and still the individual fired through the windows. The big thing here, Tom, is the pace at which this is happening. You know, we used to have a couple of big mass shootings a year, which is obviously everybody knows is one too many. But now we're seeing these events happening with increasing frequency, and that also has long.
The language they use, mass shooter. Once again, didn't they?
I mean, we're talking about.
So they're talking about yo, y'all got to peep with the agenda they pushing. You see, the person asked Charlie Kirk about mass shooting. He said far too many mass shootings. Then he gets shot. Now you see the mainstream media talking about mass shootings. Y'all gotta peep y'all gotta peep that shit, bro. Y'all gotta peep that shit. What's happening here right before our eyes.
Real political violence here against either candidates for office, candidates who are, you know, lawmakers like we had in Minnesota where they were targeted inside their homes, literally shot at their front door. What happened to President Trump when he was on the campaign trail, the second attempt on his life, and now on this conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, who appears to have been shot in the neck while speaking to the vast majority of people. They're a friendly crowd at Utah Valley State University in a horrific manner that eyewitnesses are telling NBC News. There was a lot of blood and it did not look good. And from the tweets that we are hearing, everyone across the aisle, whether it be Republican or Democrat, asking for people to pray for Charlie Kirk right now. I do want to ask you one thing. There are so many different angles of this. We actually have an angle of when the shooting happened. We're not going to show the actual moment of impact, if you will, when the bullet hits Charlie Kirk, but we can actually hear it. I want to ask our control room and our director if we can play that. I want to get your thoughts on the other end. Let's play it now.
I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
So we stopped it there. You can hear the crowd. The audio kept playing. You can hear the crowd there. I mean, it is grossly ironic they were talking about mass shootings at the time when this actually happened, Tom. But you got to think from an investigative standpoint. They have a suspect in custody. They're going to be looking at every angle of this. And so many people were shooting this because he has a massive social media presence and people were live streaming this and posting these videos on on X, I should say, and Instagram and WhatsApp and everywhere else.
That's exactly right, Tom. I mean, I've seen 5 or 6 different versions of this video for obvious reasons. Out of respect to Kirk or any victim, we wouldn't show the moment of impact, certainly to their family as well, and his condition is not yet known. But yes, there's a lot of evidence here for law enforcement. There's obviously individuals, you can see them there in front, that appear to be acting in a security capacity. They were talking about shootings and shooting incidents prior to that single shot being heard. We don't hear any other shots being fired, at least on the videos that we've watched. Of course, that's not definitive, so we still need to get some more information about that. And it's not clear from the video, you know, witnesses can react different ways. They can look behind them, to the side of them. You got a number of buildings around there, the way that the sound travels after a shot is fired. So I don't want to speculate. It would be rank speculation to say where the shot came from. But obviously, this is an incident that certainly has people's attention. You know, you mentioned the political violence. I did not want to ignore or not mention, obviously, what we saw in Minnesota earlier this summer, state lawmakers being attacked there. So that's something that that folks are definitely tuned into as well as part of this whole trend. And Tom, just briefly, I've talked to law enforcement officials in other countries that have dealt with these incidents before, speaking specifically about Northern Ireland. The biggest thing that they say is that once this gets into society, that people start to think this is how they solve their differences with a Charlie Kirk, with a local lawmaker, that it takes a very long time for that to get out of society. that's really a big concern too.
I mean, just speak to anybody who lived through the 1960s and everything this country experienced and all the loss that this country experienced with the political assassinations that happened during that decade. I do want to bring in something else, Tom, while I have you, because we are getting a statement. Actually, no, I'm going to hit this. We're getting a statement now from Turning Point USA. This is Charlie Kirk's organization. Here's what they say. This is a big update. They say this is an ongoing situation that they can confirm. Charlie Kirk has been shot. He is in the hospital, and we are praying for him at this time. That's from a public relations manager for Turning Point USA, confirming that both Charlie Kirk, which we know had been shot, he is now in the hospital, and they're trying to save his life. Tom, the point I was going to bring up with you is that from the eyewitness, Justin, we were speaking to, who witnessed this, he had heard and maybe he had even seen that the suspect that was in custody had gotten there real early, had been walking around, he had been noticed by other people. He was now in custody. And I bring that up because it rings to what we heard during the shooting in Butler, that the shooter had sort of scoped it out a little bit. You can remember, gotten very close, and then had positioned himself up on that rooftop.
That's right, Tom, and that's consistent with the second attempted assassination of Donald Trump, when a Secret Service agent spotted that individual who's going to be going to trial soon, hiding out in the bushes along the golf course there, and the Secret Service agent fires and then calls it in. Just didn't waste any time. Yes, it is. Generally, what we see these days are individuals conducting a lot of planning. We saw that in other targeted shootings and incidents that we've seen this year. So obviously that's a big concern. But what we've noticed in that, and what law enforcement has noticed in the course of looking at it, is that they haven't prepared in a way where they've involved other individuals, or they've taken actions where law enforcement would have known about the plot ahead of time. These are people that, generally speaking, have lawfully purchased weapons, or purchased weapons in ways that would not have triggered the types of checks that would normally be done, have not typically posted online ahead of time specific plans, and have conducted searches. And we conduct searches, all of us, every single day on our phones, computers, everything. It's not the type of thing that, because of the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, in the rules of this country, where law enforcement can look at our searches as U.S. citizens in this country real time.
That man could have been shot from 200 yards away.
That American
I mean,
citizens
that's
should
how
have.
good the
advocating for a
sharpshooters
change
are.
in that at this stage, but certainly the idea that this person had arrived early to the event is consistent with other targeted political violence or targeted violence that we've seen this year, if in fact those accounts are accurate. So it would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah. I want to bring in Hallie Jackson now, our senior Washington correspondent, to kind of talk our viewers and walk our viewers through Charlie Kirk and the impact he's had really over the last 10 years in American politics. You may not know the name Charlie Kirk at home. We know him because we cover the Republican Party. We've covered President Trump and the MAGA movement, and he has become such a loud voice in this movement.
Right,
He started
500
out
yards
very,
away.
very
Facts.
young, working with Don Jr., launching podcasts, and then Turning Point USA, which arguably has a lot of power on the right, maybe as much. Maybe I'm going a little far here, but it has a lot of power. I was going to say almost as much as the GOP, Hallie, itself. And what speaks to that is that Charlie Kirk spoke at the RNC this summer. He spoke trying to get President Trump elected.
He also spoke at the 2020 RNC. He was the youngest speaker at the 2016 RNC, Tom, as well, the Republican National Convention. He was named to Forbes' 30 Under 30. He is somebody where even if you don't know his name, your kids in college might, or in high school, because he has led for years now what is really the biggest, if not one of the biggest, and most quickly growing conservative activist organizations in the country. You see him on a college campus in the video that we've been showing. He has visited again and again, having these conversations, rallying for people. And I think that is why, Tom, you are now seeing this widespread condemnation of political violence all across the political spectrum, obviously among conservatives, from the level of the President of the United States to the Vice President of the United States, saying that they are praying for Charlie Kirk and his young family, that they are hoping for the best. As we now know, he is in the hospital. It is not clear what his condition is. You are seeing cabinet members.
We know he
for
dead
example,
now.
Sean Duffy saying they are horrified by the news that is emerging now out of Utah. You're also seeing Democrats, again, on the other end of the political spectrum, saying very similar things, condemning political violence. And I will tell you, just to give you a sense of how it's reverberating here in Washington during a meeting.
We thank you for watching.
They needed to clear the area. And here we are almost 3 hours after that shooting took place. And there's still
not completely cleared out of this area. So we've had a number of instances here where we've heard the sirens. Some of our other reporters who are on campus, probably 15, 20 minutes ago, you just had police going on a hot run. All of a sudden, they just took off towards something. We don't know. And so that leads many of us to believe, okay, maybe we don't know where the shooter is or who the shooter is. And that's what they're trying to figure out right now.
And that's significant here that whoever was behind this still has not been taken into custody, at least according to the reports that we have now from officials. Mike, when you're talking with people on campus, can you give us a sense of sort of the shock that we imagine they must be feeling? What else are you hearing from them? I know you mentioned some of them were looking to get their stuff. They're just looking to get back to their either dorms or houses, right?
Yeah, and I think most people we spoke
Yo,
with,
appreciate
they
the
feel
support.
safe at this point. Now,
Appreciate the
obviously,
support,
initially, they
DJ
heard
Charlie.
gunfire ring out, and they're just all trying to get
Thanks
to a
for
safe
the
place, right?
super chat.
But the range of emotions have been all over the place. And so you had people who were scared, they were crying, not knowing what's going on. And then as things settle in a little bit, they realize what happened. They figure out, okay, now he's dead. Violence incurred in something that was supposed to be someone who's just giving their opinions on things. So anger is set in for a number of people. They're upset at this, and you can understand where they're coming from on that. We've spoken to some students. Is there fear of coming back to campus? I don't think that's the case right now. This is a different event. You know, as we cover campus shootings throughout the year, unfortunately, that's something different where someone comes in and has a weapon and goes into classrooms. That was not the case. This clearly appears to be politically motivated because of this thing that was happening right here with Charlie. And so as you go to the range of emotions and what people are feeling, really, it's all over the place. But I would say the biggest one is it is surreal. No one here in this area, a very conservative part of Utah, and Utah's conservative. This may be the most conservative area of Utah. To have something like this happen for people, it's beyond them.
And Mike, to your point, we talk about who Charlie Kirk was, how influential he was in the conservative space. I have to think there's not, maybe but a handful of people on the campus where you are who hadn't heard of Charlie Kirk, whether they were at the event or not before today.
Yeah, without question. There's a number of people who don't know. And again, you probably had anywhere from what we're hearing, 2,000 to 3,000 people who showed up. That's not all students. You had a number of people who were coming in. They knew about the event. They know Charlie. They wanted to listen to him, hear his opinions and his thoughts on things, ask him questions. We spoke to a number of students who were here who actually had the chance to ask him some questions. And that's what people were hoping for. Yes, a number of people I talked to, they didn't know. They didn't even know this was going on. So I don't know, unless you're kind of in that circle, maybe that conservative circle, knowing that was going to happen on campus today.
Mike Hedrick, our thanks to you. They're live on campus for us tonight. Our thanks to your colleagues as well at our NBC station at KSL.
Yeah, that covert war that's going on. I'm telling y'all.
You got all hands on deck out there. Appreciate that. I want to go now to Adam Bartholomew, who is just about a block
Covert war at the top.
He was on the ground. He was at the event today at Utah Valley, live streaming this event when it happened. Adam, thank you.
Speaking of that, what can you tell us about his relationship with the president? We know that he was a regular at the White House. We know that he was friends with a lot of the people in the administration.
Right. And it's important context that he wasn't in the government, but you could say he was just as influential on the outside, almost competing with the Republican National Committee for the actual Republican Party for relevance and influence. And that's because, I was on the campaign trail in 2022 back in May, and it was the Ohio Senate primary. And J.D. Vance was running against a couple other Republican candidates. And Charlie Kirk was out there for the last couple of days of the campaign by his side. And on that election night, he credited Charlie Kirk for helping him win that election. He was very close friends with J.D. Vance. Don Jr. and Charlie Kirk were close friends. I was actually flying back from an event today with Attorney General Pam Bondi in Illinois, and we learned of the shooting on the flight back. And she ended up not speaking with the press and quickly exited the plane, an aide to her describing him as a close friend to the Attorney General. And if you look across those that are not only in this cabinet, but in the higher ranks of the Republican Party here today, they had come across, most of them, Charlie Kirk, and also at the, the staffing level. Essentially, he had a deep footprint across, the MAGA.
Thanks for
aligned
super
part of
chat.
the Republican
DJ
Party,
Charlie said always
and I
supporting
don't think we can
business.
understate
We're
enough
interviewing
what he
Tokyo
meant for the
Tony. I
future of
appreciate
the
that, bro.
MAGA movement and the younger generation of today's Republican Party.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that clip that we played from Gavin Newsom, I remember hearing it, and it just, that idea of dueling. I saw one of those in Arizona, and I was struck at the back and forth, and there's a lot that's lost in the quick clips that we often see on social media. But there was a lot of nuance in those things, and a lot of people that would go to those would find
in 2025. A tragic episode here in which somebody has clearly shot and taken the life of a young prominent conservative.
Yeah, and no doubt not done any silencing because what we're about to see is going to be, I think, something that we have not seen before. Vaughn Hilliard, thank you so much for all of this.
Thanks,
Let's now bring in Chase Hughes and Logan Topman, who are students at Utah's Valley University. They were also at Charlie Kirk's event earlier today. Guys, thanks so much for being with me. I'm really sorry about everything that you guys have had to witness today. Let's start just with that one single shot. It is pretty wild that we still don't know who fired that shot. There is a suspect still outstanding, but we've started to hear and see some videos that are circulating that appear to possibly show a figure on a roof line. We've heard from investigators that they think that somebody was on a roof. Does that square with what you heard?
Logan? Well, I wasn't on the roof. I was on kind of a balcony that was in between where he was suspected to have been and where Charlie Kirk was. And when I heard the shot, I didn't quite process what it was in the beginning. And it sounded to come from behind me, which would have been approximately where the sound came from, is where they're suspecting it. So it would make sense based on where I was standing and where I heard it.
If I understand correctly, you were underneath, that bullet would have passed over your head to where Charlie was.
Maybe not directly over, but yes, I was more a little to the side, kind of a little more south than Charlie was, but not by too much.
Wow. And could you see him clearly from where you were?
I could. I was on the corner of a balcony, and I was actually filming because I'm part of this news team, their UV review, while I was filming. So I was able to see everything from where I was.
Oh my gosh. Again, I'm so sorry that you had to see that. In the aftermath, the pandemonium of everybody running, how fast was it before you started to see officers come in, security taking Charlie out? Like, what was there any order to that madness?
Yeah, they were. I would have to say the law enforcement did a wonderful job. There was instant action from police, immediately escorting people, telling them to go inside. Like you've seen in the videos, the second that the shot was fired, Charlie's security covered him and escorted him off. Everyone was being asked to leave immediately. It was really minutes later, we were in the newsroom discussing what happened, and there were police clearing the halls to clear students out. We received emails from the school saying, if you're stuck on campus, call this number and we'll help you. It was very, very well done for this situation.
And Chase and Logan, I'm not sure if you guys were there for the entire event, but how would you characterize today's event? Sometimes they're very boisterous. Other times it's a lot of long, back and forth, cordial arguments, and then sometimes things just get pretty rowdy. Well, what was today's like?
It was really excitable, surprisingly. Typically, you feel like, which is funny coming from Utah, but it seems like, a very moderate to maybe a little bit of left campus life in our experience. And it was very excitable. There was a lot of people there who were very excited to see him. There was a lot of people there that were booing him as well. About the top right from where he was sitting, there was a group, it zoomed out past him, that were against him, and there were some protesters. But But overall, there was a young woman earlier who said it was very unexpected. It was, we were the second person, it was the second person doing the Q&A. We were barely starting.
Huh. So it had just started. So the questions that we're hearing, and I believe it was about transgender shootings, those were the second questions of the entire event?
Yeah, the first was on.
They were.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they were. The first was just talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a very prominent religion in the area. And then immediately after that, it was just questions about shootings that immediately followed right when he was shot ultimately.
And I want to ask you guys, I appreciate your journalism on all this so much. You guys are studying the world and studying journalism at a time that is, unprecedented on so many different levels. Where do you think discourse on college campuses goes after something like this?
That is a great question. I think that in my experience and what I've seen from social media, it has actually been really in a beautiful way. There's been a lot of people who did not like him who have been posting that they feel horrible and are heartbroken about it. And I think that it may rile up a little bit, but I believe that during events like this, at least from what I've seen, it may calm the waters in some way and may help with the discourse.
Yeah, I'm praying your optimism carries the day here. Chase, Logan, really sorry again for everything that you guys have had to go through, and our thoughts are with you in your community there. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Sure. And don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on all of this. We're going to be right back after this break.
Breaking news tonight. This is a massive storm affecting almost all of Florida.
Prepare for the worst, obviously, and hope for the best. This soldier is scanning. Family who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will
We're gonna never know who that
countless
shooter is.
generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot to think about in that message from the White House there, Gabe. And we're going to leave this show pondering what we've just heard, what we've seen throughout this day. Gabe, thank you so much for being with us. Where our country goes next, we shall see. For now, our prayers also go out to Charlie Kirk's family, his wife, his 2 young kids, and the victims of hate and violence all across this country. I'm Gotti Schwartz, and special coverage of this developing story continues right now. We're coming on the air with the shocking assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Kirk was 31 years old. He was a father of 2. He was a cornerstone of the young MAGA movement. President Trump himself announcing his death on Truth Social, writing, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." Kirk was speaking at the Utah Valley University in the question and answer style that made him so popular when he was hit by a single shot straight to the neck. There are some really, really graphic videos out there of the moment he got hit. We're not going to show those right now, but the chances are you might have already seen them on your timelines. But here is the moment leading up to that fatal shot because it's important.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Even that is hard to watch. There's a lot of confusion about the shooter. For all we know, that person might still be at large, but it looks like there is a suspect in custody, possibly a person of interest. There is some confusion at this moment. But Charlie's killing has been sending shockwaves through America tonight, with politicians from across the spectrum expressing their shock over all of it, especially about this ongoing pattern of political violence in America right now. NBC's Liz Kreutz is here with us. Liz, I mean, it's been very hard to understand whether or not a suspect is in custody or not in custody, and whether it's a suspect or a person of interest. What is the latest?
Yeah, I mean, all day there's been this back and forth, because even just hours ago, there was a statement put out that there was a suspect in custody. There's a video that was going around appearing to show police actually arresting a man. But then it came out that no, there was not a suspect in custody. And as of right now, we don't believe that that video shows the person who is the suspect. What we know right now is that the FBI director, Kash Patel, has put a post on X saying that there is a suspect, the person they believe is responsible for the shooting, in custody. And then shortly after that, the governor of Utah came out and held a press conference, and there he said that they have a person of interest in custody. So at this point, it may be just down to semantics here, but it does sound like they have somebody right now in custody for this crime.
And it looked like they knew that they were looking for somebody specifically that was on campus that may have been captured on video getting off of that campus, wearing dark clothing, maybe on a roof. What are the details there?
Yeah, they say that they have a closed circuit TV video, which appears to show this person. And right now, from what we understand, this person is not believed to be a student. This was an event that was open to both students on this campus and open to the public to come. And they believe that this was someone who was on a roof shooting from about 200 yards away. And the video shows that they were wearing dark clothing, but we don't know much more than that at this time.
And was there a lot of security at this event?
From the witnesses that have been coming on our air and talking to NBC News, it does not sound like there was a lot of security here. It sounds like there weren't really like magnetic security things you had to walk through. And really, I was looking on the website, they've been promoting this event, which was part of the American Comeback Tour, where Charlie Kirk was going to be going and holding these events on different college campuses across the country. This was the first of that tour, and you could just register online and show up, and hundreds if not thousands of people did. And one of the witnesses that came on our air was saying, was telling our colleague Kristen Walker that she was even nervous about that, being like, gosh, this is someone who's kind of provocative and says things that can get people riled up. I would be scared if this, you know, if this was my loved one sitting there.
And as we've been talking, sorry to check my phone here,
Yeah.
but it looks like the FBI director, Kash Patel, has now posted on X, the subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Once again, this is the second or possibly third back and forth that we've seen. Someone taken into custody, someone released. Yeah.
So now the manhunt continues.
It appears so, which is very concerning for everybody who was there. Hundreds of people were there, that community at large. And right now,
Yo, they not gonna find. They not gonna present us the real shooter, y'all.
United States political history. You were just
Y'all know
talking
for
about
sure
that
they're not
event.
gonna
I
roll out the
remember,
real
back in
shooter.
2016, watching one of those moments in Arizona.
And that's the one thing when it comes to shit like this that happens, and they never, you know, catch the real shooter. Then you know they gonna present anybody to us. They're gonna be the fall guy. There's always the fall guy they present to us. It's never the real shooter. You know what I'm saying? That shooter that did this to this guy was trained assassin. Definitely you know contracted, definitely used to basically take this guy out, and being as though they arrested one guy, had to release him. That means they don't have no leads on who the shooter is, what he looks like, or anything. You mean to tell me they don't know who the shooter is and all this technology, all this cameras every damn where? Cameras are everywhere. You mean to tell me the NSA can't find out who this person is? Y'all really think they don't know who the shooter is with all this technology? Let's be for real, y'all. It's just too much technology these days for anybody to get away with anything. So I don't think they're gonna present the real shooter to us, y'all. We know that. We know how this go. We didn't see this plenty of times throughout history.
And he would draw a crowd, and there would be a line of people that would stand up there and debate him. And his whole, you know, the whole point of that was to try to foster a little bit of the debate. Things would definitely get testy. People would break off into groups, and then they would continue to have this debate, and it was messy.
Right, enemies of the state, y'all. Y'all remember that movie with Will Smith and Gene Hackman? Enemies of the state, right? They got satellites and shit,
It
right?
seems like all of this today
Come on, y'all.
happened during one of those events, right?
Yeah, this event, he actually, like, literally, if you look at the tarp that he was sitting under, it says, "Prove me wrong." American comeback, prove me wrong. And there was a mic there, and he wanted students and people in the public to come up and debate with him one-on-one. That was the whole ethos of everything he was doing. And you've covered this so extensively, and we were both in Arizona leading up to this past presidential election, where you could just see on the ASU campus, you could just feel the energy of young students so much mobilized by Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization.
Let me make this point too. Tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11. I'm not gonna go into, you know, the conspiracies surrounding 9/11, but the one thing I am going to mention about when 9/11 happened, what did they sign in the very next morning after 9/11 happened? Can anybody answer that question in the chat? Can anyone answer that question in the chat? What was the very next thing they signed in to Congress? The very next day after 9/11, that very morning. Yep, subliminal frequency, you got it right. The Patriot Act. Now, not the Freedom Act, the Patriot Act. Remember, the very next morning, they signed the Patriot Act into law that very morning. And what did the Patriot Act consist of? Allowing what? Cameras, surveillance everywhere, right? So being as fact that this thing happened today with this Kirk guy, right around 9/11, and they're talking about mass shooting. I saw that's the key word now they're using in the media, mass shooting. That's the question they asked Charlie Kirk before he got assassinated. What did they ask him about? Mass shootings. So we know this is definitely an agenda that's being pushed, and they're going into the next phase. And they really want to disarm the American citizens. That's they always been working on trying to disarm the American citizens from having firearms, preferably firearms that we could use to protect ourselves against tyrannical governments. Trump put military all on the streets. You know what I'm saying? So right, they never you know was able to basically dismantle the Second Amendment, and people just not going to give up their guns that easy. Not at all. People is not giving up. I don't care how many times they mention mass shooting in schools or mass shooting on the news, and people are not giving up they firearms. That's not happening, Captain. We know that's not happening, Captain. Nope, not at all.
Organization that helped get young people, particularly young boys and men, excited about politics. It became cool to wear the MAGA hat. And something that I think just speaks so much to that is the podcast that Governor Newsom did with Charlie Kirk just a few months ago. He had him on. They were engaging in political, back and forth. But Governor Newsom even said to Charlie Kirk, my son is a huge fan of yours and wanted to come meet you today. And I told him, no, you got to go to school.
Right.
But the fact that Governor Newsom's own son is a fan of Charlie Kirk, I think speaks to the influence he had with young men in this country.
Those Arizona college campuses, I remember talking to a few Bernie bros that were basically converted from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump because of Charlie Kirk and because of his work at Turning Point. Liz Kreutz, again, I will let you go back to trying to figure out what the latest in this ever-changing investigation is, but thank you so much for being here, and we'll check back with you in a bit. Thanks. And let's bring in NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, we just saw this post just a bit ago. The subject that was in custody has been released. What do we know here?
Sorry, Gotti, you caught me mid-communication with sources here, so bear with us. Yes, this is a stunning turn of events. This has been a day marked by confusion, and clearly there is a very wide-ranging investigation happening now, but this is not following what we might typically see. So let me take us back to what was happening at the time of the event. After the shooting itself, of course, law enforcement is scanning the scene, looking for information. There was one older man who was taken into custody by local authorities. We had done some work on him, and he is not suspected in the shooting. He was charged with an obstruction case. Then we learn from official sources of a suspect being detained and believed to be involved in the shooting. That's how it was depicted to us through various sources in law enforcement and government.
They're never going to shoot.
Then, of
Real
course,
shooter.
we had on the record the governor of Utah saying there was a person of interest in custody. Kash Patel, the FBI director, using his social media to refer to an individual as a subject. Other officials, other sources of ours were saying that they had confidence that the individual being held was someone they thought would be, in fact, the suspected shooter. So not just a witness, not just a material person, those kinds of things. We're trying to figure all of that out. Now, after some period of time where we believe there was an attempt at least to question that individual who was detained, now Kash Patel is saying that subject has been released. That suggests that they do not have any compelling evidence to hold that individual right now, because with a charge of this type, a murder and other potential crimes, it would be very difficult to let someone go without a probable cause. So this is a surprising turn of events, and we will keep working our sources to try to find out more. Authorities had also said they could see a figure in dark clothing. Earlier, the university said they believe that The shooting took place from a rooftop. There is some grainy imagery that seems to show a figure moving along the rooftop. We don't know if that's the shooter.
There's always a grainy
So,
image of
hours
something.
after the murder, the
Y'all notice
assassination
that? All this high
of
technology, they
Charlie
always
Kirk.
rolling out some
Sorry, my
grainy
phone is
ass
ringing. Sources will have to
image
hold on a
nobody can
second.
see. Or a
Hours
video that look
after
all
the
distorted.
murder, we're still in a situation now where investigators may be in a manhunt situation, looking for more evidence, more information. There would be other things they could try to do in terms of assessing the wounds sustained by Charlie Kirk in his death that perhaps could give some indication of the type of weapon they're looking for, the range, that kind of thing. So the headline is there was a subject in custody. That subject has been released. Where are we? I don't really know, but we are pursuing this with our team, reaching out both on the ground in Utah and with federal officials as well.
Kelly, we really appreciate you clarifying all that. If we could just clarify one other thing, because by now a lot of people have probably already seen some other videos that have been circulating online. In the chaos that followed, there were videos of police handcuffing an elderly looking gentleman and then taking him out of that crowd.
That wasn't the
People
real
yelling,
shooter.
monster, monster, and screaming at this person, saying that that was the person that was the shooter in those videos. And those videos have gone super viral. Is he the one that was a person of interest that was released, or is he another person of interest that has been cleared?
Two individuals were taken into custody. The older gentleman who was seen on video is someone who was known to police, had some violations, criminal violations in his past, a person very active in the community, maybe an activist, if you could call it that, but someone that was known to authorities. For whatever reason, they detained that individual, and the governor and officials during the news conference referred to an obstruction charge. That could come about from someone not listening to direction from police or any number of things. That was one category. That was the kind of thing in this modern moment where video and imagery spreading wildly, people may have the wrong impression. So that's one category. Separate from that, officials had told us, and we know more of the details, but we have not reported it because it's not at a level where it meets our standards, but of an individual who was then detained and was being questioned, whether they responded to questioning or not, but there was an attempt to interrogate, to find information out. That was the person referred to as the subject, a much younger man. And now we know that that person who, as we understand it, was 25 years old, is 25 years old, was released. So we don't know where that leaves us, but it is surprising to think that authorities would release someone unless they felt that what they thought initially just doesn't bear it out, because they'd be able to hold a suspect for a period of time if they had credible evidence. So are we at square one? Are we starting over? I just don't know yet, but that's part of what we'll all be pursuing.
Yeah, and when we see just how many people were there when all of this happened, I mean, this is going to be quite the investigation. Kelly O'Donnell, really appreciate you clarifying all that for us, and we'll let you get back to your sources there. I do want to bring in retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico. Rob, the changes that we're seeing on the fly here are pretty astounding, and yet this is a crowd of thousands of people. Everybody goes running after that single shot goes off. You've got officers and you've got authorities saying that they think one of those shots came from the roof, meaning that, I mean, a sniper might have been on the roof and then was able to get away. How do you even start to investigate something like this when obviously you want to catch the killer before the trail goes cold, and yet you've got thousands of people to talk to and hundreds of pieces of video and pictures to sift through?
It is difficult. The biggest thing here is going to be cameras, because witnesses are going to be all over the place. Everyone's going to think that the shot came right from behind them, or they saw where it happened. But in a bowl like that, with all those buildings around, one shot going off, it's going to be heard differently from everybody as a witness. So everyone's going to think they know where it came from, and they're not, because it's just really, really hard to understand how the ricochet of sound goes through that atmosphere. So I think the witness statements are going to be less, when you're talking to them, are going to be less credible until you get their cameras and someone had a video. But the still cameras, the CCTs, the cameras that they're talking about, is really where they're going to be looking for something. If they think they know where the shot came from, if they think it came from that building, figuring out what cameras have access to that, have that in their line of view, what people were closer to that. But the problem is they all ran right after it. So it's really hard to gather. So you're going to have to be on the outside talking to people. You're going to have to put it out in public. Hey, if you're around this building, if you saw something, they've already done that. Bring your cameras in. They're setting up a link that you can send your video in, but that takes people to look at. So it's really, really tough that way. And this whole thing about, they're calling him a sniper. A sniper is a school-trained person, either police or military sniper. The shot here taken, it could have been someone that just has proficiency in long-range shooting. It could be a hunter or someone who's
A
practiced.
hunter,
So
nah,
the term
military.
sniper is a bit different.
Military. I'm
For
going with
me,
military. What
having
about
been a
y'all?
sniper, I look at it this
Hunter or
way.
military,
I look
y'all?
at all the different things that are
Type in the
happening out
chat
there, the
who y'all
crosswinds,
think it
the
was,
tent,
a
the fact that
hunter
he was
or
elevated
military?
and he hit him in the neck meant maybe he could not see with the tent because he was at a higher elevation. He could not see his head, or he, didn't have the right scope, the right settings on his scope. I look at things a bit differently.
Interesting.
But all those have to be taken into effect from the investigators.
No, I really appreciate that because, so many laymen, including myself, like you see that and you're like, wow, what a horrific shot. And it goes into his neck.
Make sure y'all
which you would
double tap
think
the
is,
screen, like this video, and subscribe if you haven't
might
too.
have been the target.
This
And
is
yet,
one of them channels where you
if
won't
it
get the
was
truth
a
at.
classically trained sniper, you're saying things might have been differently. The other thing is he kept moving his head back and forth leading up to that. So whether a scope was used or not, like what kind of shot are we looking at here? Did this look amateur to you?
I wouldn't say amateur. Anytime you're taking a shot over 200, 250 yards into a person is not the easiest shot. And when you're looking at, what rifle was it? During the DC sniper case, we kept calling them snipers, and actually they weren't. And we knew that early on because they were taking a very easy mid-body shot at 100 yards, which is nothing for a sniper. And if you're looking at it that regard, we always kept saying that was misclassification. They were just shooting out of the trunk in type of a sniper hide, so to speak. This one, again, a good hunter can easily take that shot. When you're hunting deer, you're doing it 200, 250 yards. Utah has a lot of hunting, so I don't doubt that person has some obviously training. But are they a military type sniper? When you start looking at
I'm gonna go
how
with
you really
military.
deploy as a sniper, police sniper, military sniper is a lot different. But again, all those things that we're looking at, I've had a friend shot in the neck in Afghanistan. It went through and through. He got like 3 stitches in the front, like 7 in the back. Like it was a crazy lucky one. But I've seen that where a sniper's not going to be aiming at the neck to hit the carotid artery, which is what it appears.
I agree. Definitely a professional,
and it
y'all.
could come in from one side
Hell
and out
yeah.
the other through the carotid. But definitely one carotid artery was hit by the amount of bleeding I saw. But a sniper is going to aim its center mass.
Yeah,
in the
I'm
forehead.
thinking 200 yards too.
But a lot of things can happen to that round. So
Yeah, I'm
if you
thinking
couldn't
200
see it because of the
yards
tent,
away,
or if the
250
wind blew it
yards.
and it blew it off track a bit,
As much, you know
or
what I mean?
if he didn't have his scope set at the right, yardage, he could have been off and then got a shot that
Well,
unfortunately
sharpshooter
was a
could
lucky
shoot from
shot to
500
kill him.
yards away. And they
And
target.
Rob,
Yeah.
based on your expertise, why a single shot? Should we read into that at all, or was this just an effort to escape as quickly as possible?
I think probably an effort to escape as soon as possible. I think if he's looking through a scope, he saw the effects very quickly of the blood coming out, and he also could have because he slumped back to his left, I believe. He actually could have been then out of like that area could have gone under the tent from where the sniper's position was. So there's a couple of things that happened, but most likely the shot went off. And then he saw the amount of blood and then just knew he had a shot that was probably lethal. And frankly, the first time you do that, it's not It's not the
I agree,
easiest thing to
Zulu.
see through
Definitely
your
wasn't
scope.
an
So
amateur.
it could have been
I
he
agree
thought
with
about
that.
it, and then the realism of what he did kind of came out, and he took pause, and then all the chaos happened.
Rob D'Amico, we always appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much. Let's get over to Gabe Gutierrez, who's at the White House right now. Gabe, can you talk to us a little bit about, Charlie Kirk's dynamic with President Trump? We saw that post from the president announcing his death. Many credit President Trump's election to Charlie Kirk and his work with the youth. What is the White House saying tonight?
Yeah, that's right. You're looking at that post on social media, Gotti. President Trump calling Charlie Kirk legendary, that no one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. It is an acknowledgement to what the president and top White House officials have been saying now for years, that Charlie Kirk has helped them start a MAGA youth movement, and many credit him with helping Donald Trump win his second term. Now, White House officials here, this has been so personal.
Yeah, we're about to see a lot more turmoil, I'll tell you that.
Really reminds them of the attempted killing of their boss a little bit more than a year ago in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I was in the West Wing earlier today, Gotti, just minutes after this news broke, and I saw senior White House officials seemingly devastated. The looks on their faces was one of shock. When asked for comment about what they thought about this, I had one official turn to me and say, "Not yet." And it was clear that this was not just a typical story that was unfolding. This was someone who they were very close to. Charlie Kirk was a constant presence here at the White House.
Said the shooter was most likely from Utah.
Donald Trump's
Now that shooter could have been from anywhere.
There's a profound sense of sadness and shock here at the White House, even as we head into the evening here. And the president,
make sure y'all double tap your screen, like this video, please. Thumbs up this video by double tapping your screen.
On the North Lawn. It really is just devastating for so many here at the White House. One other thing I would mention, just a little earlier this year during President Trump's inauguration, Charlie Kirk was in the Capitol Rotunda with a prime seat for that inauguration. Some even joke that he had a better seat than some members of Congress, and it was perhaps an acknowledgement that more so than some of those members of Congress, he probably played a larger role, likely played a larger role in getting President Trump elected. So just a devastating loss here, Gotti.
Yeah, we also saw on Capitol Hill Speaker Mike Johnson talking about this epidemic of political violence. We're seeing people like Elon Musk posting how the left is the party of murder. I mean, after something like this, you often hear politicians trying to just quell any rage that may be out there. And yet, as you were describing, like, this is very personal. The right, the president has been shot at. He has been shot, and there have been attempts on his life. This is somebody that they knew. Do you see the White House coming forward and saying, you know what, we should all just take a moment to calm the temperatures, or do you see the blame starting as soon as a suspect's in custody?
Well, look, I think a lot of those discussions are happening right now here at the White House. The lights are still on here in the West Wing. White House officials are still here trying to, gather more information here, as you were just reporting. Now there was conflicting information whether a person of interest was in custody. Now it appears that person of interest has been released, and there's a suspect still they're still searching for one. So this is still a very fluid situation. One thing that we have questions about and we haven't gotten an answer to is the president is still scheduled to head to New York tomorrow on the anniversary of 9/11. He's also scheduled to take part in a ceremony here at the Pentagon. As of now, there has been no change to the president's schedule, but it's unclear whether he might post on social media later tonight or exactly how he might react here. One more thing I will point out, Gotti, it is extremely significant, and I think it speaks to how big this moment is and what an influence Charlie Kirk had on this country, that we have now received written statements from all living presidents right now. President George W. Bush just released a statement a short time ago. We've already heard from Presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and certainly across the political spectrum, we've been seeing an outpouring of condolences, but also, this denouncing political violence in any form. Gotti.
Yeah, Gabe Gutierrez at the White House, keeping an eye for us tonight. Gabe, thank you. And what happened today in Utah, it was witnessed, as you've seen, by thousands and thousands of people, a lot of them college students at Utah Valley University. And as things unfolded, a lot of them were documenting what they were living through in real time, sharing what they saw.
So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Heard the gunshot. I was the last one standing because I couldn't quite believe. I thought maybe it was a stunt. And then everybody fell to the ground. We all fell to the ground. I got pushed into some bushes. I stayed there. There was a lady with her elderly mom, and I said, "Is she okay?"
Everybody kind of just didn't know what was going on at the moment. They were just sitting there like watching it, like, "Oh, did he really?" I'm like, "Yo, dude, he got shot."
It did sound like it came from the right side of me, and I tried to look, but I was getting pushed back by the crowd.
Oh my God! Go run! Oh. How close would you say you were to where he was speaking? Probably 20 feet, 20, 30 feet from where he's speaking. I actually personally saw him get shot. Everyone else was filming, and I was just sitting there just watching the debate, just seeing what was going on. And then I just immediately hear a pop, see him get shot in the neck, blood come out of him, and then he just hit the floor. And then I just take these guys, and we just run out of there.
You guys okay? Okay, love you. Be safe.
I'm only 18 years old. I've never experienced a lot of death in my life, but this is like the first time I've ever seen somebody die, and my heart was just racing. It was so scary.
The craziest part is like there was no checkpoints, nothing to get in here. Everyone was just able to walk in here. I'm like, I have my backpack. I'm like, if I wanted to, I could just bring a gun with me.
The fact that it ended so quickly, so fast in that way, it scared me because I felt like, what's going on? Like, what does this mean? What does this mean for like students like me? Like, we can't engage in dialogue without, or even come to a place where we can engage in dialogue. Absolutely did not expect it, wasn't prepared for it mentally and emotionally, even physically, still shaking. A lot of people were shaky. They're like, seeing stuff happen that way was insane.
Yeah, no one should have to go through that. And let's bring in Jacqueline Aponte, a freshman at UVU, who is there today. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being with us. I'm so sorry you had to be there, and I'm glad you're safe. You were very close to the front of the stage there. I got to ask, what's your reaction knowing that the shooter is still out there after all the chaos that you saw?
Right. Thank you so much for having me. I think that it is scary, just knowing that it could have been one of our classmates, especially when UVU is supposed to be a place of safety. You know, there's a lot of people coming from a lot of diversity, so we don't know where people are coming from already in the first place. So to come to this place where we're expecting safety and to gain an education and just wonder whether or not the shooter is still out there, it's very scary, terrifying.
And they're saying that this was kind of a longer distance shot from a roof near where you were. Does that square with what you witnessed or what you heard?
Yes, it does. I was about 5 people away from being able to speak to Charlie. I was going to ask him a question, and I saw him with my own 2 eyes get shot in the neck. It was very traumatizing.
And you were there to ask a question. For those that are unfamiliar with how Charlie would run these things, anybody could stand in line, and then they could come up and they could have a conversation with him in front of everybody, right?
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
And I mean, did it seem like there was a lot of tension at the event?
Honestly, no. There were a lot of people there who were Trump supporters. I wasn't sensing any tension at all. It came at a moment that was completely unexpected. I certainly didn't expect it, and I feel like everybody didn't as well. And I was standing there in shock when it happened. I honestly couldn't believe that it had actually happened. I, for a second, thought that it was fake.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that no one should have to go through, and to see these images of what all of those people witnessed, what his family is now going through, it is absolutely horrific. Jacqueline Aponte, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And we'll be right back after this break.
Breaking news tonight. This is a massive storm affecting almost all of Florida.
Prepare for the worst, obviously, and hope for the best.
This soldier is scanning the sky for Russian drones.
With all these cuts, are you worried you're going to lose your farm?
There's no more smoke, no more fire, but there's still a danger.
And I don't think we can understate enough what he meant to the future of the MAGA movement and the younger generation of today's Republican Party.
Yeah. I mean, that clip that we played from Gavin Newsom, I remember hearing it, and it just, that idea of dueling. I saw one of those in Arizona, and I was struck at the back and forth, and there's a lot that's lost in the quick clips that we often see on social media. But there was a lot of nuance in those things, and a lot of people that would go to those would find that nuance extremely appealing. That were on the other side of the political spectrum. I do wonder, though, going forward, what does the political legacy of Charlie Kirk and what does Turning Point become now after being struck by this very stark incidence of violence?
Right. I don't know. There are others that are very much engaged with Turning Point USA, and it's hard to fathom that the president and his allies will allow the organization to go by the wayside with Charlie Kirk's death. I think that in terms of our political debate, this happened on a college campus university. Well, literally people had the opportunity to take a mic, and he welcomed debating back and forth. And so this is not a situation where it was a question of the words being spoken, but it's about the impact on the actual spoken word. And understanding that political violence has now taken the life of Charlie Kirk. It took the life of the prominent Minnesota lawmaker in June, and it targeted the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Gretchen Whitmer and Steve Scalise and Gabby Giffords. There is a long history over the last 12 plus years now of political violence intended to silence the political discourse here in this country. And it is tough to know and understand where this is going. 1 year ago, the president of the United States was nearly assassinated, or the candidate to be the president was nearly assassinated. And there was calls for political discourse to become more civil. I can't contend that we have seen that play out. And here in 2025, a tragic episode here in which somebody has clearly shot and taken the life of a young prominent conservative.
Yeah, and no doubt, not done any silencing because what we're about to see is going to be, I think, something that we have not seen before. Vaughn Hilliard, thank you so much for all of this.
Thanks,
Let's now bring in Chase Hughes and Logan Topman, who are students at Utah's Valley University. They were also at Charlie Kirk's event earlier today. Guys, thanks so much for being with me. I'm really sorry about everything that you guys have had to witness today. Let's start just with that one single shot. It is pretty wild that we still don't know who fired that shot. There is a suspect still outstanding, but we've started to hear and see some videos that are circulating that appear to possibly show a figure on a roof line. We've heard from investigators that they think that somebody was on the roof. Does that square with what you heard?
Logan?
Well, I wasn't on the roof. I was on kind of a balcony that was in between where he was suspected to have been and where Charlie Kirk was. And when I heard the shot, I didn't quite process what it was in the beginning. And it sounded to come from behind me, which would have been approximately where the sound came from, is where they're suspecting it. So it would make sense based on where I was standing and where I heard it.
If I understand correctly, you were underneath, that bullet would have passed over your head to where Charlie was.
Maybe not directly over, but yes, I was more a little to the side, kind of a little more south than Charlie was, but not by too much.
Wow. And could you see him clearly from where you were?
I could. I was on the corner of a balcony and I was actually filming because I'm part of the student news team, their UV review while I was filming. So I was able to see everything from where I was.
Oh my gosh. Again, I'm so sorry that you had to see that. In the aftermath, the pandemonium of everybody running, how fast was it before you started to see officers come in, security taking Charlie out? Like, what was there any order to that madness?
Yeah, they were. I would have to say the law enforcement did a wonderful job. There was instant action from police, immediately escorting people, telling them to go inside. Like you've seen in the videos, the second that the shot was fired, Charlie's security covered him and escorted him off. Everyone was being asked to leave immediately. It was really minutes later, we were in the newsroom discussing what happened, and there were police clearing the halls to clear students out. We received emails from the school saying, if you're stuck on campus, call this number and we'll help you. It was very, very well done for the situation.
And Chase and Logan, I'm not sure if you guys were there for the entire event, but how would you characterize today's event? Sometimes they're very boisterous. Other times it's a lot of long, back and forth, cordial arguments, and then sometimes things just get pretty rowdy. What was today's like?
It was really excitable, surprisingly. Typically, you feel like, which is funny coming from Utah, but it seems like, a very moderate to maybe a little bit of left campus life in our experience. And it was very excitable. There was a lot of people there who were very excited to see him. There was a lot of people there that were booing him as well. About the top right from where he was sitting, there was a group, he zoomed out past him, that were against him, and there were some protesters. But overall, there was a young woman earlier who said it was very unexpected. It was, we were the second person, it was the second person doing the Q&A. We were barely starting.
Huh. So it had just started. So the questions that we're hearing, and I believe it was about transgender shootings, those were the second questions of the entire event?
Yeah, the first was on...
They were.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they were. The first was just talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a very prominent religion in the area. And then immediately after that, it was just questions about shootings that immediately followed right when he was shot ultimately.
And I want to ask you guys, I appreciate your journalism on all this so much. You guys are studying the world and studying journalism at a time that is, unprecedented on so many different levels. Where do you think discourse on college campuses goes after something like this?
That is a great question. I think that in my experience and what I've seen from social media, it has actually been really in a beautiful way. There's been a lot of people who did not like him who have been posting that they feel horrible and are heartbroken about it. And I think that it may rile up a little bit, but I believe that during events like this, at least from what I've seen, it may calm the waters in some way and may help with the discourse.
Yeah, I'm praying your optimism carries the day here. Chase, Logan, really sorry again for everything that you guys have had to go through, and our thoughts are with you in your community there. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Sure. And don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on all of this. We're going to be right back after this break.
Breaking news tonight. This is a massive storm affecting almost all of Florida.
Prepare for the worst, obviously, and hope for the best.
This soldier is scanning the sky for Russian drones.
With all these cuts, are you worried you're going to lose your farm?
There's no more smoke, no more fire, but there's still a danger. With these serious incidents we have, is it the possibility of human error?
Here on Bourbon Street, the healing has begun.
As we know to the great Louis Armstrong, music is a healer.
Every angle, every night.
See right here.
NBC Nightly News.
Hey, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air with fast-moving. We don't love
talking about throughout the hour and what we've been hearing as reactions pour in about Charlie's death is an alarming rise in political violence in the United States. Obviously, top of mind, the attempt of Donald Trump's life in Pennsylvania last June on the campaign trail, and then again, a thwarted attempt on Trump's life last September. Then there were the two Democratic state Minnesota lawmakers who were shot and killed in their home this June. A man broke into Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's mansion, set it on fire this past April. Now, Republican and Democratic Party offices have all been attacked in separate occasions. The list is long and it is growing. We've got Gabe Gutierrez standing by at the White House right now. Gabe, I understand we may be getting a statement from the president.
Yeah, actually, Scotty, just within the past few moments, President Trump posting on his True Social platform roughly a 4-minute video reacting to the death of Charlie Kirk. The president eulogizing Kirk, saying that his voice would be now louder than it ever was before because of what happened here. And he spoke about how important he was to the MAGA movement. He also blamed what he called rhetoric from the radical left as contributing to this, but he promised that his administration would do everything it could to bring Charlie Kirk's killer to justice, Scotty.
Have we heard anything? Actually, I think we've got that statement in our system right now. If we can play that, here's the President of the United States.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot to think about in that message from the White House there, Gabe. And we're going to leave this show pondering what we've just heard, what we've seen throughout this day. Gabe, thank you so much for being with us. Where our country goes next, we shall see. For now, our prayers also go out to Charlie Kirk's family, his wife, his 2 young kids, and the victims of hate and violence all across this country. I'm Gotti Schwartz, and special coverage of this developing story continues right now.
Tonight, conservative activist Charlie Kirk assassinated while speaking on a college campus, and this just in, word of a person of interest now in custody. The conservative commentator shot while talking in front of a large crowd at Utah Valley University. Witnesses describing a bloody and graphic scene. People fleeing in terror after Kirk was struck by a bullet near his neck.
Blood shooting out of his neck, hit the floor, and we just had it bolted out of there.
Moments ago, law enforcement saying a person of interest now in custody. Political leaders from both parties condemning the assassination, the latest act of chilling political violence in America. President Trump posting he was loved and admired by all, especially me. Kirk was known for his often inflammatory takes on charged political issues. Meet the press moderator, Chris.
Showing how his struggles with confidence helped fuel his
If you crave nature but still shop online, Night and Day Herbals is your dream come true. Discover premium herbal soaps, shampoos, and CBD products. All organic, all for you. Shop now at nightandayherbals.com.